It's all so helpful.
Good. All right, this is a hallway hangout on June 1st, 2022, for anyone in the future, not for you in the past. We are just here to casually talk about full sighting with the full sighting outreach program. So this is all done through WordPress Slack and the FSE Outreach Experiment channel. So if you want to join these in the future, hop in there. To get started, I have 2 posts I want to highlight. So I'm going to share my screen. You're going to see the mess of tabs. And I want to pull this one open and this one open. So I flagged both of these in the channel itself, but I feel like they were good to just call out, especially with the folks that we have on. So to start, some folks are working on ways to have basically built-in fluid typography, just really awesome. And there's some stuff that integrates it into theme JSON, which you can see here, some new properties, which is pretty exciting. And right now they're just looking for feedback. So this is super early stages, but this is something I've heard a lot from different theme authors wanting. So it'd be great to chime in here. And this is, you can see a quick font size example, just a little demo. Kind of a weird, feels like an optical illusion. But yeah, there's some specific calls for feedback here. And this is a great way to get involved early in something that's being worked on. So I highly recommend chiming in. In terms of time frame, it's kind of loose. So I would say like in the next couple of weeks would be ideal. But I'm sure, you know, as this evolves, feedback is always welcome whenever. But yeah, you can get a healthy dose of digital kudos. And I just wanted to call that out. So this is on make.wordpress.org/core or /core. And then I will link to this in the notes as well. And then the other post I wanted to briefly touch on is something I did yesterday. So I'm very biased. You all are my captured audience, so you have to see this. But just basically pulling together some high level feedback from the outreach program. So previously there's 2 other posts that I did, and I started trying to do these every couple months, and then eventually just got really repetitive. But then with the launch of 5.9 and then 6.0, it kind of, I just had like a feeling that we needed another one of these that was a bit more specific. So I like, for example, like this one kind of just generally says improve settings experience or like make editing modes distinct. But like, what does this actually mean and how does it show up as specific issues? So this is a bit more like almost like a step below that, where it goes through very or more specific flows that are very common for people to want to do. So I purposely, you will not see like super complex stuff on here. This is meant to be like, what are the basics that someone would want to do when they're using full sighting and how is it hard right now? I included some videos, but you'll just see, and a lot of quotes from folks who are part of this program, which is really cool, like being able to actually have words and be like, don't just trust me for it. Like here's a quote from someone who just went through this is really helpful. So hopefully what you see reflected there matches kind of the current pain points on people's minds. The original version of this was like twice as long. So I kind of had to shorten it, but it's a great way to just kind of get a sense of like, here's where we're at and here's what we know is painful. So if you're wondering like, hey, does the outreach program know that, you know, the theme block placeholders aren't that great? Yeah, definitely do. But I recommend if you're interested in understanding kind of maybe for your customers, or if you're a theme author, what's painful and how you can kind of curate the experience for them, or even write documentation for your plugins, like this can be kind of a helpful way of looking at it. And I've also flagged this for the training team and various folks as well. And obviously the developers and designers are being made aware of this. It's part of why I posted on core. But yeah, wanted to flag that. Otherwise, if I do this, I'm like, there we go. Can y'all still see the Google Doc or is it not showing? Let me do a new share. No, it should. Let's see.
I can see P2.
I saw it too.
Can you see it now? The Google Doc?
Now I see the Google Docs.
Okay, great. I was like, all these nonsense P2s. So I have a list of issues that I've pulled up, but I do want to pause right now to see if there are any issues that are on y'all's mind or tweet threads. There've been a lot of tweet threads that people have been DMing me with, or just anything you all want to chat about for now, but otherwise we can go through this list.
the last discussion I remembered is just is regarding the spacer block, I think, but that also was like related to responsiveness in general, which is like a giant topic, probably like a topic for a hangout. But
Yeah,
I
tell me
haven't
more,
like
yeah.
I just like I think Rich tweeted like something about the spacer block or someone, I don't know, and then the discussion started about responsiveness. But to be honest, I haven't been following responsiveness and all the issue in detail, because we've like kind of built our own block system to kind of target that early on. And then I was like, I don't care, I do my own thing, which is not ideal. Like I also say to like users, we could always kind of switch to the core solution if there is one that kind of like solves the issues we had, like we are solving on our own right now. So I haven't been following that, but I think it's like one of the biggest issues people have with the full site editing.
I totally.
And then navigation is one like thing, like starting to build block themes for our users. They're like, how is this working? And I know you did a video on it, which is awesome, but I think that's also one of the biggest, like, that's not
But it shouldn't
great.
require watching a video to know how to use, you know, like I will say, I did that recent video on like building a site with 5.0 versus 6.0. And even I was like, wow, the navigation block is very clunky compared to what I'm used to. Like it was definitely a different, on responsiveness. This is the main issue that I feel like it's linked to a lot, because I think it does a good job of talking about intrinsic web design principles and how we can build in responsiveness without like basically moving away from like the media query world and moving towards things like what we're talking about, like fluid typography. But this is a great, this is like a great issue to, and you can see here,
to get on top of things.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah,
like, we need to get going on this for sure though.
Yeah, we have done the same. Like I've updated, like we've been starting out with media queries. Now I kind of updated everything to clamp, and I was surprised how well it worked. So I think, we can always like, it's good to be able to improve stuff.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how this evolves.
I think it's just one of the main things that people holding back from building like block themes and stuff at the moment. And then there was another discussion, like just in general, I think also Rich asked like how, like, why do you think what is missing? And then I think I mentioned like the whole onboarding, like getting people to, and that was also why I asked like regarding the beta version for the editor. I totally, like, I read through the discussion and I will add something from my perspective as well.
Talking about the label.
Yeah, the label, like editor, beta. And I totally get why it's still there, but from an onboarding perspective or someone who is trying to get people to use block themes, it's like, I don't know, like it's one of these issues, like people think it's not usable, but it's like, for if you have a block theme and you kind of look out for what is usable, it's super usable. So how do we get people starting to use block themes if it's like still these beta label and people think it's not usable, or like they can't start using it, and then people asking like, why aren't there more block themes in the repository? So it's like kind of super hard at the moment building block themes. It's super hard to like, when should we actually, like, when can we get started? It's been a very long process. And I think that's like, people get kind of worried that it's taking too long to, and then we have like an onboarding issue or like a promotion issue. Like people are so confused what they should do. Like,
how do you talk about it? Like that's something I've been talking to marketing about, even with like announcing the about page or having announcement posts with like 6.0. It's like, how do we talk about style variations when this is going to impact like a very small subset of users? Because like they have to be using a block theme and they have to be using a block theme that supports style variations. So it's like, how do we communicate the value of these releases without overstating or causing confusion? Yeah, it's very
and then
tricky.
Regarding the editor, what I didn't really like, if you don't use the block theme, like a block theme, then editor won't be there. So putting a beta version I can get it from like a cautious perspective, but then if you don't have a block theme, you don't have the editor. So, I mean, if you have a black theme, then it's kind of like should work. So it's kind of like, I don't really, it's kind of like contradicting, right?
Yeah.
To have it still in beta because no block theme, then beta should be on the block theme, like the label, right?
Say more about it should be on the block theme, like meaning the block theme should be labeled beta potentially.
Hopefully not. That would be awful.
Yeah.
Well, I think I write like just from my perspective, I wanted to add something like just it's a little bit frustrating to get block themes out there if like people are holding back so much. I think that's it's like it's a little bit difficult.
Touches a little bit on, I'm gonna pull this back up because one of the things I've been thinking a lot about is that initial experience of switching. Where did I put it? Yeah. So part of I think Carolina has a really good on full site editing. It's like, yeah, this is a great resource. I think Pierre flagged it in Gutenberg Times, but it's like, you need to copy your widget content. It's like, there's weird stuff to switch over. It's like, hold on.
I actually writing a post this week about like, I kind of wanted to narrow it down to like 10 steps how to switch. I mean, and it super depends on the website if you can switch kind of easily or not, or what you're like willing to adapt to or change on your website. But yeah, because we have like tons of people on classic themes that we're like trying to get to switch, and it's a hard process. I think that's like one of the main like communication issues WordPress has at the moment. Like people are super confused. Do they have to switch? Should they switch now? What is going on?
And when to switch,
is it ready? Like, yeah, is it ready yet?
And that's, I think, a huge, and right now most people are not going to set up like a test site to go through and figure this out. Like they don't know how to do that. So it's, yeah.
From my perspective as a developer, I thought block themes are ready. Like we can build them, put them out in the public, but then having the beta on the editor, you know what I mean? It's kind of like, is it like, am I too early? Now I'm confused. Like, can we?
Yeah. And then of course, when you actually read this discussion, people are very much arguing that it's not. It's like, don't.
It's not. Yeah. And I can understand all the points, but from someone trying to get block themes out there and trying to get the like, and I think like for our customers, it's ready. Like our block themes are ready to use on public sites. Like I'm building only stuff that works. So like everything else that I think is not ready, like WooCommerce, we're holding off a little bit.
Yes. Yeah. No, and I think part of this is too, like, it's like even switching between block themes also needs to be improved. Like there's like layers to this.
Yeah.
Because I know like
complexity.
a big and a lot of this, like even the simplicity of adding a way to preview a block theme before switching, like to me, if we solve that would be huge. Like that, and then having maybe like kind of what you're describing, a brief onboarding flow. I don't know what that could look like, but I'm sure there's something that could be built in.
Yeah, I think that would be so like important because people are so used to something, and I think getting people like saying WordPress is too complicated, so we should probably really focus on getting people who use WordPress to like onboard to the new features.
Yeah.
And then like if they don't follow, then we are in trouble, I guess.
Well,
yeah, because there's like Nick.
Well, I completely agree. I do think that we have an issue there because what I've seen, we've done some internal testing. We've done some internal testing with people who are like hardcore WordPress users but haven't used block editor much or full site editing. Been in WordPress for a long time but are kind of new to this stuff. And you watch them go into the site editor and start moving around. And like a good example is typography, right? Where they change the typography on post title or whatever, and they go to try to change typography on headings, and they're like, wait, why is it not there? Like,
Anna messages me about this every like 2 months. She's like, hi, is this fixed yet? I'm like, no, I'm so sorry. Like, yeah,
and
it's a huge one.
I think that and that's why I think that we've had this conversation before. All this other stuff needs to be done too, but I think that we need to really take a look at like consistency across the tools that we are providing people. And I know that there's like a lot of discussion about, oh, we shouldn't have typography control and paragraph blocks because it gives people too many options or whatever. And I'm like, I understand that. I understand that there's an argument for that, but at the same time, like, you're realizing that people are like trying to they think they can change typography over here, but they can't change typography over here. It doesn't connect, and it gets them like I've watched people get very frustrated because they don't think they think that they make a mistake. Like, did I hit the wrong thing? Like, why does this have it but this not have it? And I think that that's kind of the stuff that needs to, like, people getting like they think they're dumb. They think they don't understand. They're like, but it's here and it's not there. And I'm like,
yeah.
Well, there's a big discussion on GitHub about why it's not there.
There's also a lot with like image blocks where like one image block allows this, another image block doesn't, like image related. And that's something that I've seen people really get confused on. Like the last call for testing, I think Ed Beck was like messaging me being like, I got so frustrated with this. I think he commented about it. Yeah, he commented on it on the post. But that was a big one, is he's like, why can I change the size of this avatar, but then I can't do X, Y, and Z with this, whatever. It's like that whole experience, I think, is really, and this reminds me of whenever, yeah, Nick, you had the PR around adding top and bottom margin support for the group block. And that whole discussion of like, yeah, I get it. Perhaps we should be able to use, you know, other tools, but we really need this right now. And kind of, it's a very interesting back and forth about how much do we expose? Because there is that kind of experience of like curating it. And to me, that's where I think block themers can control that, or someone who's like a site, you know, owner can control that. And it's like right now, I think the whole point is we've opened up a lot of options. And then in time, I think offering different flavors will be more and more possible. But yeah, the inconsistency is definitely, I run into it on like a regular basis because I basically mess with FSE. I was messing with it earlier today on like the block museum site. So
I think that it's a little bit sad because like really from like someone who is like has a design background and is building themes like forever, it really is a better experience, like getting design into WordPress and with patterns and stuff. I like, from my perspective, it's so much better, but having the confusion added, it's a little bit sad for the whole project that it gets kind of like a bad reputation. I know like people are always, like you said, Nick, like if someone has used WordPress for a long time, but I think it's also new people. And I think it's a little bit of a communication issue. Getting features in and making it better and stuff is great in the background, but there should be like someone or some like a group or some who is kind of communicating to the end user like what they should actually do and what they can do. I think that is missing at the moment from my perspective.
Like, can you think of examples where that's been done, whether it's in WordPress or not, like done well? Because this is something I've been thinking about a lot with like marketing efforts around releases.
Yeah.
So I agree.
I think Figma is a pretty great example. Like they adding like more complexity to their tools pretty much like all the time too, but for some reason I think they do it. I mean, it's a different, like it's a company and they have like, it's a different thing, but I think they kind of do that pretty well, like having like just it's actually kind of easy, like just kind of like Insta videos and stuff, like circling all the features and having like one, I think they like consistent communication with, which is hard in WordPress to do because it's so like spread out. But I think just regarding something new and getting people to understand it and to use it, it's I'm just kind of seeing it evolve to be a little bit sad for all the cool things that are come up to be kind of like dismissed or not understood. And I think it's just like a tiny thing missing in communication, mainly, probably not so much in, because what they're building is so cool, but people don't really get it at the moment. And
it's very visual too. Like, I think because there's a lot of new terminology, one of the things I found, like part of why I started doing YouTube videos, is I was like, I need to show you. Like, and a lot of what I found to be most compelling is like, here's what was done before and here's how we're doing it after. And kind of having those before and after, I think is a neat way of demonstrating that, of like, yeah, remember how you could do this with the customizer. Here's what it's like if you want to do it in the site editor. But yeah, I wonder what sort of, it's like a combination of like support docs, training, and like marketing.
Yeah, it's pretty, like, it's a general like issue I'm like pulling up here. I think it's probably a little bit too general, but it's just something like I really realized over the last like 6 months or so, trying to get people to understand. It's
I just want to see, I think that, so we've been talking about this in developer relations at WP Engine because, you know, we're advocating for WordPress. So what are we talking about? And I think that, you know, when you're talking about like basics of like, how do you do X, Y, and Z, I think that's great. I actually personally think that's should be flushed out on Learn from the training team, you know, and documentation, how to do the basic stuff, how to do, you know, register a pattern and do all that kind of stuff. One of the things that I like to see us doing is showing the cool stuff, right? Like getting people excited about all the things that you can do, you know, having a really solid resource on Learn about how to create a block theme, you know, all the mechanics. But then as advocates being like, okay, here you go to learn the basics, but now we're going to show you the really cool stuff you can do, you know, whether it's interesting designs or really take it to the next level to showcase to people that it is very different. But that's okay. But this is all the stuff that you can do now that you could never do before, or you need like 5 plugins to do. Just to kind of turn that negativity around. But I think a lot of that, I just keep going back to the consistency and the little stuff. Like, if we can standardize block settings across all core blocks, but then provide like agencies and people the ability to turn those off for their clients, they don't want them to have that functionality, which is also definitely needed. But standardized stuff, so when someone knows how to change the background color on paragraphs, they now know how to change the background color on all the other blocks, and they feel like empowered because they've learned it here and it applies to all the other core blocks. I just think that sometimes we think that users are dumb and can't learn how to do stuff, and the block editor, the site editor, full site editing is a complete paradigm shift in managing websites. It's completely different from before. But I just think that we need to empower people to make the changes that they want to make. If they want to have, you know, pink text and green backgrounds and do it, great. You have the tools to do that. Like, but if you're an agency, you want to lock that stuff down for your client, great, you should be able to do that. But at its base level, people should be able to do what they want with the software of WordPress. I mean, that's what we're trying to empower people to do. So.
I think the same, like also from, I get the discussion like, oh, that's like dangerous, they shouldn't do that. I think too, like having consistency is way more valuable than like being afraid of someone like having an option they could possibly break or shouldn't. I think that's also, it's, I think that's not so much an issue. And from someone really putting like an end product, was it a child or a dog?
I mean, I think it was a dog.
I hope it was a dog. I think so, hopefully. I think from someone building really like a product for end users, I think the same, like it's not so much an issue having, like, especially with patterns, because we can have these ready to go patterns, and someone who is not familiar with something, they just drop in the pattern or even like a whole page pattern or page template. I think it's not so much an issue of, oh, there's a spacing you could maybe break or you don't know how to use. They don't need to touch it if they have the pattern ready to go. So I think that's not much of an issue, having settings there that they don't or shouldn't use or don't have to use or don't have to understand. I think that's, yeah. And then maybe if we later on get an option for agencies or something to hide things, then we're like good to go, no problem at all. And I think
we have to bring up patterns because of that, because I think that's a huge way to solve a lot of this.
Yeah, it's if you have a pattern that looks exactly ready to go, like what we've done, like we have done that with our themes. Users are happy, it's no big deal. And it's like super complex how I actually built that pattern with tons of settings. They could never do that like on their own. Like a lot of our users, they're really like, they have no background in building something, even like in Adobe or Illustrator or something like that. So Figma. So they don't have to touch it like a setting if it's ready to go. So no problem. And yeah, I think being afraid of this, like, oh, they could maybe kind of break it. I think, yeah, if we have like just a lock feature or something, then good to go.
We could just JSON's so powerful with that too.
Yeah,
it's like
we could just
set this up and hide a lot of it.
Yeah, log all the spacing patterns by default, done, like no problem. Like from an agency or someone who's building. And like our users are a lot of times super beginners. They see the pattern, they drop it in, they're ready to go, no problem. I think they don't even see the spacing settings or don't touch it. I think we should give them more credit, the end users. I think it's not that big of a problem. Like in favor of consistency, I think that would be huge value.
And I know there's like an issue on consistent dimension controls, and also, which I think is a huge thing, is more places. I'm going to share my screen again. Where's the button? This is a new one that's come up in the last week, but integrating better with the pattern directory and having a more intuitive experience of actually using patterns. So like the 6.0 block theme authors could say, like, please, have these as featured patterns from the pattern directory, but it's like, how does this scale and how do we make it even easier to use?
I think that's one of the biggest focuses we should like focus on right now, like, because patterns are that what they see, what they like get excited about, what they can drop in and are ready to go, which makes the whole experience easy. Like that's, I think I saw that, I was like, oh yes, because for us to like the categories get like more detailed. And if you look in something like component systems or something like design system or components like CSS component things and stuff, I think having the categories more detailed makes sense, but then the patterns. So that is super exciting, and I think very, very helpful for users.
And same with like, if imagine you're in the pattern or the theme directory and you want to see what patterns come with that theme, like you can be like, oh cool, like this theme is specifically built so I can use these patterns, like, or if like
you get an overview.
And I think that ties into the experience of like switching to block themes and making it really compelling. And same
I
with
think
like
that is exciting.
Yeah, I'm curious, Nick, because I know you worked on the plugin related to patterns. Like, I'm curious if you've seen this or if you have any initial thoughts. I'm gonna heart it while I'm here.
Embarrassingly, I had not seen this, but
this is 6 days ago, so don't worry. Like, it was recent.
No, but I completely agree. I think that, I guess in my perfect world, we would have a very pattern-centric interface for users that are perhaps new. You could make use of block locking so that you insert a pattern and everything's locked. And you can provide really cohesive interfaces using patterns. But then on the flip side, you also, for those that want to use them, have all the controls enabled for the various plugins, various blocks. And you really do two things. One, you provide beginners with a great visual experience of inserting designs into their site that they can then edit. But then you also want to provide people that want to build things from scratch the ability to do so. And I think that over time, as a user that's maybe brand new, they insert a pattern, they'll start, as they use WordPress more and more, they'll start to learn how these things are built. They'll pop open to that panel and see, oh, this is a background color, and you'll just learn by starting from patterns. And maybe in a month or two, they'll be able to build their own, based off some of the patterns that they saw.
I love that.
I just think
Yeah, so
like,
true, 100%. I
like,
think that's the way to go.
like give users, like patterns are the great onboarding. It's like the designer, over here created all the stuff for you. But if you really want to dive in, the tools are there for you to do it yourself. And it's best of both worlds. And I think that would work great.
This is
So
also
true.
like part of it is we also have so many different ways of showing patterns that I have to just quickly mention. Like there's some neat work being done to like, how can we have a holistic pattern browsing component? So like people know when they're looking at it, I'm looking at a pattern, and it feels similar, because some of, quite frankly, in my opinion, some of the modals are a bit clunky right now. And offering different ways, I think, is also huge. Like there are times whenever the carousel view is like really overwhelming to me, and I might just pick the initial one. So some of these designs I think are super neat to see, and I'm sure inspired by Nick, a lot of the work that you all have done around changing the size, all this sort of stuff. But yeah, I'm excited to see this evolve, because I totally agree. Patterns are a huge way forward.
I think, yeah, that's very exciting. I saw that, like, I was like, yes, because that's like the onboarding, the promotion, the advertising. It's like, oh, cool. Like that's what people understand. And then, yeah, if we who are actually building the patterns, coming from a design, trying to get it into WordPress, it's like, it can be super complex, and it could, like, if people like dig in, they could break things. But yeah, if we just have a lock on it, or like it's no problem. Like we can have all these complex, we can have all the complex settings, like all of it. Like I don't think that's an issues to focus on, really. I think that's kind of gets too much attention. Like, oh, people could break things. I don't think that's a problem we should focus on. We should more focus on, like, yeah, how do we get people excited to actually use it before they like could potentially break it, and then like, because they're not really, if they are not excited to use it, then they just won't like switch. I saw something else in your links.
This is another one I was thinking of, is this zoomed out view, because what you all are describing.
Yeah. That was, I saw that one.
Cool. Yeah. Let me see if there's a recent video.
That is very helpful, because people are like, they're having issues like working with the patterns, or like editing the header block, especially because it's like not a lot of space. I saw that one, so I was like, that's important.
Yeah, because like if you can, after you add a pattern, how can you see what actually makes up a pattern? And then maybe how can you flip through additional ones? So like adding a pattern, finding a pattern is one thing, adding one's another one. But then what about using all the rest and being like, I actually don't really like this.
Yeah,
this whole
that
experience.
Is so cool.
So I'm gonna go back and show this just real quick.
But I saw that in the and it, because it's so like, the screen is so big, like people don't really get it. So I'm always like, open the list view, click on that. It's like I myself can't even work with the list view. Like it's my savior, because I get an overview, but the list view is like,
it's like overused.
Yeah, and then in like, if someone wants to edit a header template part, I was like, get the toolbar on the top, like otherwise you will be totally lost. Like, get the toolbar on the top. It's like, that should be a default, actually, I think, because it's not the space, like otherwise it's not working with the blog editor. Maybe but that is like, yeah.
And I love just like the replace flow and like all that, because right now, let's see if I can quickly pull up. I have so many test sites. This is one of my go-tos. Ignore
that is super exciting.
Yeah, I'm super stoked about it. So like what we're talking about here is like list view, and then right now we have like a replace option where you can click through, like this is part of the modal that needs to be updated, but it's kind of confusing even at a glance. Like first of all, it hides what you're actually seeing on the screen, so you don't actually know what's going to be replaced. So and like I might click this and it's like, oh, what? I didn't want to have all this go away. Like it's pretty confusing, even though it's powerful.
And you need to click actually on the pattern like you did with the list view, like, and people never get that. Like, I don't see the replace. Like, where is the replace?
Where are you talking?
You need to click.
Yeah, and right now this is hilariously covering it. But yeah, it's like you're not necessarily aware. And then also it's like existing template parts and patterns. Like I often miss. Like this isn't very clear to me that these are two different things.
What? Yeah, I think, yeah,
that's
totally.
another issue. This is fun.
That's another issue, yeah.
Look at all this
I think
navigation block. It's so funny.
I heard terminology is one of the biggest issues. Like people are confused. Block editor, template part pattern, like what is going on? I think that's one of the like higher level issues.
This was one of the support docs I ended up doing after 5.9, or it may have been just before 5.9, because this was coming up a lot. Is like, when do you use each? So if you're like, we had folks at Automatic who were like, wait, should I make a template part for that, or should it be a pattern, or should it be, and like, it's very this is like the best thing I could come up with of how to explain it. But even that's confusing. It's like, what are the use cases for this, you know?
It's a little bit hard.
Like,
and then can I make a claim? Can we force people to use the term block theme? Because I still see like all the people coming out with block themes, like, oh, I built a block-based theme. I was like, no, it's not. That was the thing before.
Yeah, that's so
I built a full site editing theme.
Yes. Because that consistency is also, like, I've seen full site editing theme too, and I'm like,
yes,
I have actually messaged people and said, please update to block theme. Like,
yeah, even in the directory, maybe there we could, like, because they name the themes. I think now,
the
like
feature is
FSE.
set as full siting.
Yes, that is another problem. Like, that should be updated like fast.
Yeah, where this became a whole discussion. This thing.
Yes, there was on Twitter, there was a discussion regarding like, how can we feature block themes? Like, should we, some said they should have their own like menu. And I thought maybe something like in the plugin directory, like block enabled, we could do like block themes, like on top of, like in the plugin directory, we have the block enabled plugins.
That's interesting.
On themes we could, yeah, because they wanted to have a whole category for block themes, but I thought have block themes on top of classic. I think for us, like, it's very, very unattractive to put free themes in this directory, because you just like get, I mean, it's not worth it, because I mean, who clicks on full site editing to filter? It's just,
that's such a good line.
It's sad. I mean, it's very sad. It's not like, if you ask why aren't there more block themes in the directory? I mean, come on.
No, this is
we're not featured. Like, we are trying to get people to use the new feature. We are not like promoted of, like, there's nothing, like, we just
and it doesn't really show up the power. Like, it looks exactly the same as any other theme. You can't.
Yeah, but it doesn't even show up. It doesn't even show up initially, because I mean, you get 2 days in the latest, like,
and look how low this is. Where if block theme was up here.
Yeah, and people don't even know, like, what is, like, full site editing is not. Yeah, I think that's like one of the I think block themes on top, if that is possible. Yeah, if that is possible.
I mean, we gotta be honest, the entire themes repo needs to be rebuilt.
Oh,
like, it doesn't include anything, like, even like doesn't even include, you can't even put like a detailed like description. Like, it's just it's
filter system is awful. Like, it's not possible. But I think, like, as a somehow like a fast, we need a fast solution. And if that is possible, I don't even know, like, having block themes on top of, like, to promote that, because, like,
or even
why are we
even
trying to
next to, it says, what does it say, popular and featured, if you scroll up, or popular latest,
yeah.
even if there was just a direct link that said like full site editing, I don't know, something block themes, something block like theme.
That. New we're trying to get you
something. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I'll add an image whenever.
If that, I'm not sure like how fast that can be done, but yeah, that is just like sad at the moment. We're trying to get something new out, trying to people to use it, and then it's like,
yeah, it's almost like having something where it's like compatible with the latest features or something. Like, I mean, that's way too long to put in this, but like, I wonder if there is something that can be done to surface it more. I really like that idea. This is really, all right, let's do it right now. Access. Yeah, this is.
I'm sure we'll start a debate in about 5 seconds, but
Because we like we thought about like, should we do like light versions of our themes, and we kind of like at the moment, no, we don't put any effort at the moment in free, which is kind of sad. We would be, but it's not worth it for us right now to do that. So we are like, okay, let's try to get premium things out.
This is super insightful. Yeah, because I bet so many people are in that position too, where it's like, how do we make it more compelling? I think especially like combining stuff with the pattern directory, like the fact that in the pattern directory you can't see what patterns work with which theme, like that could also be another pathway in, is all of a sudden you're in the pattern directory and you're like, whoa, Ellen's theme has really cool patterns. What theme is this? Boom, download views. Like, and we don't have that kind of cross connection going on. What,
at
Nick,
the moment, to be honest, like we deactivated the default pattern directory because it's overwhelming, and for our themes I don't really want all the patterns to be used. I want our patterns that because I think it's just a cleaner experience, easier to understand, and there's still no way to add patterns to the patterns directory with external blocks from the block, like blocks that are like our blocks are in the block directory, so they're free blocks, but I can't submit patterns to the directory using these blocks. It's not allowed. So I'm like, I'm not gonna submit blocks because I can't submit our blocks that we've been building, even though everything is is free on the directory, which is kind of also, I understand why they hold off with that, but it's been long holding off with that.
That's a good call out of like, because I can imagine.
So there's no way to promoting our patterns for our like free theme. So yeah, our free stuff is kind of on hold at the moment because there's no way to promote. And we have like a magazine block theme that would be cool as a light version. We would do that, but at the moment it's not promoted in the theme directory. Patterns can't be promoted. It's like, no.
I think the pattern directory has some fundamental flaws, the blocks being one of them. The other one is the fact that like you can't use named variables, right? So if you have like a theme that's used as a special naming convention for your color palette, they won't work. And so I have found that the pattern directory, as you said, is very overwhelming for people. And I hate, this is something that's very subjective, but there's no curation of the pattern directory. As we know, not all designs are made equal. And so there's a lot of patterns that have been submitted that meet the requirements that subjectively are perhaps not the most compelling, which, you know, it makes it a little bit hard just to say, hey, add this to your site. It's just, you know, some of them are just like 2 blocks with a color change. You know, it's not a.
And I think if our free theme would add it, like at the moment we could remove it completely, because I don't want to have this like mess of like crazy, like a lot of patterns that I don't even like Nick said, I don't even want to promote most of them, to be honest as well. But if we would be adding it, then that we would need a way to like, oh, I want to add that, but not that one. It may be complicated to solve, but that would be the only way I would like. There would be need, like from the theme authors, there would be a way possible to kind of like say this one, but not that one.
They have that right now with theme JSON. So that was one of the things that came with 6.0 that you can in theme JSON.
That doesn't work completely though, because it allows you to pull them in, but it doesn't disable the default patterns that come with WordPress. Yeah, that's something that I discovered. So like, it'd be great if you could like register your own. You could disable all patterns, like just start by disabling all patterns and then pull in the specific ones you want. That doesn't currently work.
That would be the solution. And then,
isn't there an issue for that? I feel like I saw.
If there's not, I can make one. But like,
I was like, I feel like I saw this. So I'm gonna make sure, because this definitely came up.
Doesn't solve the block issue or the variable issue, but at the same time, that would give people incentive to say, hey, I take Frost, for example. We put all of our patterns on the directory, and then in the theme itself, disable the defaults and just pull all the patterns in from the directory, our patterns in from the directory.
And I think also I can understand why like third-party blocks aren't allowed, but also it's like, I mean, they are in the directory, in the plugin directory, and I think it would be a good promotion for like a wider variety of patterns to be used, like having some more advanced designs in there. I think it would be helpful, even though I know it's difficult to like curate like who's is allowed, who's is not, but yeah.
Or just bundling them by theme, I think would be a possibly a way. I don't know, but I think, Nick, is this what you're describing?
Yep, exactly.
Okay.
Yep, that's it.
I was like, I feel like I saw an issue.
Yeah, that's exactly
story of my life. Oh, you added labels to it. Yeah, great.
Oh, I did comment on it. Okay, that's why.
This is our past selves, man. This is great.
Exactly.
Yeah. Exactly. And I'm subscribed to it. That's so funny. Yeah, this is exactly.
Yeah, but at the moment, also like as with themes in the directory, it kind of like it feels a little bit like a punishment. Like we're trying to build something cool, and then we kind of get punished for like putting the work in there and kind of getting the cooler, like more advanced stuff in there, and then we're kind of like not getting allowed to show it. That's a little bit like as with block themes, like they're not promoted patterns or blocks from someone who build a block. There's no possibility to promote the work. I think that's a little bit like,
especially when block themes are having to kind of bridge the gap from core right now in certain ways. Like, so maybe you have like a table of contents block that you've been waiting on. Like you said, you're like,
we did. I'm happy I didn't do that, but we have some blocks that are just like solving issues that otherwise we couldn't be. Like we always go from the design, like we want to get that design, and then we like everything that is missing, that is not possible, we add with our own blocks, which isn't like which isn't bad. I think that's great for WordPress. If it's a free block, why not promote it?
Yeah, that's a great. Whew. I love this.
Yeah, because at the moment there's no way of promoting the work, and it really is like, it's sad I can really admit that it discourages us to submit anything like the pattern. And if I've been asking like for this, like for a year or something, will third-party blocks be able to be added in the pattern? I'm like, at the moment it's unuseful. And that's sad because we are probably not the only like theme authors or something, or blog authors feeling this way.
And there should be a way to say like, hey, you added this pattern to your site, install,
So like Liz said, it uses third-party blocks and just say like, just a little icon or something, and then they do it and then they install it.
Yeah,
shouldn't be that difficult. And
which is actually somewhat related to, I'll quickly show this, but like Sean was looking at if you add a plugin and it has other dependencies, what could this look like? And he has this great blog post. Cool. But I think that similar kind of thinking could be applied to the pattern directory, for example. So it's like, hey, you really like this pattern? If you want to use it, cool.
Because I understand that it can get a little bit messy, but I think without promoting the free work like other people did for blogs and for blog themes, full site editing, we are not gonna succeed in the way we could, like promoting this thing. I think, I think from my perspective with the blog directory, they always like they were cautious. Like, I don't. But I don't think that's the right way forward.
Yeah, because very interesting.
In other, like the blog theme authors aren't very cautious. Like, what kind of theme gets submitted? Is it good value? Like, does it look great? I mean, everyone gets approved, kind of. So, I think why be so strict on one side and on the other not? Doesn't really make sense. But that looked cool.
Sean just posted that, I think, also this week. And I was like, whoa, that's an interesting, like I can see it's being used in a couple of different spots.
Yeah, because we would love to have like light versions of premium themes or patterns in the patterns directory. And I've been asking like for some
or it would be cool even to like filter, you can filter between, like, if you're using a random service, I can't even think of it's like paid versus free. It's like, I'd be cool to be able to filter in the pattern directory from like third party blocks versus like core blocks, you know, like maybe it's that simple where it's like someone wants to go into third party blocks, maybe something pops up and it's like, hey, you know, whatever, you're gonna have to install some extra stuff. It's like, okay,
yeah, you can filter it. Yeah,
it could be neat.
Instead of like not allowing it for such a long time, because it's, I think discouraging people at the moment building block themes or blocks or patterns. It's not really valuable for the community or for WordPress, and that's what is happening at the moment.
And it fragments the community, right? Because there are going to be people that are going to go out and build premium pattern directories they already have, you know, that support the things that they want to support. You know, Ellen, you're out there building premium themes because you can't put them on the repo. So you're distributing, you found a way to distribute them your own way, and other people are doing the same. And it just like, it starts to move everything away from core distribution channels, which I think harms the community in the long run, you know?
Yeah, and it's like feels like building against something. It's like, we don't really want to build it. We would like to build on top of something, but there's no way of promoting it via WordPress.org. And as Nick said, like having something like plugin libraries, premium, or like out of that's like just sad, like having to build it again to be able to use your work, like feature your work, like, and then it's like could be really dangerous if there's like coming up a lot of like inconsistency in, there's a pattern library there, it's a plugin, then there's like the core pattern library, what is that? So for the end user, that's not great.
I was trying to explain there's a site I volunteer with, and I was talking about creating patterns, and someone, I guess, did some research on their end, and they're like, so is this a plugin, or I found a theme that has pattern in the name, I found like a pattern, like they found all sorts of stuff. And I was like, okay, let me take a step back and explain, like, this is how I would approach it for you. And it's like, but I was like, if there's something in the pattern directory that you really like, we can actually try to include it. Like, but it's very interesting to kind of sort through these different things. This is like, I love this conversation. I do want to be mindful of time because I do have to go at the hour, but I am so glad this is recorded. Absolutely incredible insights. And like, I only wish we could just talk for like 4 more hours about this stuff, because I feel like some of these ideas are really, really important to get out there. And this feedback of like the sadness and feeling like being punished, and like you're trying to use these cutting edge things, but you can't.
It's very hard work. Sometimes I use like a little bit harsh words in English. I hope it doesn't like get lost in translation. It's like, no, I didn't mean it that way.
No, it's like, it's useful to have these very specific examples, because one of the things that I can tell you I find personally tricky to navigate is like, I'll see what I call like sentiments about full siting, but not specifics. So I'm like, I get you feel that way, but like, what can we do about it? And this felt very actionable and very clear, like having clear examples and continuing to give feedback like this. And especially bringing in feedback like Nick from folks in IP Engine that you're doing with testing, or Ellen, users you have for your block themes, like that's critical. I think we're going to need that more and more in the coming months. So I love this. Yeah. But let's end on
let's get breakfast.
Otherwise, I know. I was like, I was just saying, you start your day. But yeah, this was super awesome, and I really appreciate you all spending time sharing these thoughts. Like, I know it's hard, but like critiquing because you care really matters, and people like you who show up, it's really humbling and helpful.
You want to be in the world.
Yeah, no, truly. Like, I'm like, yes, this is exactly. You should see my notes. They're a little bit chaotic, but I'm very glad we had this conversation. Appreciate you all spending time. I'll post notes on Make Test, and I hope to see you all at future hallway hangouts so we can keep talking about this stuff.
Of course.
Thank you so much. Thanks for all the work. Bye. Have a good evening.
Bye.
See ya.